Today is part 4 of my combat logistics series. Let's get to it. How's it going, citizens? I'm Sir Six, your salty aerospace technician. If you're new to my channel or Star Citizen and you want a better understanding of the basics and how things work in the verse, then consider subscribing and turning on all notifications so you don't miss anything. Now, each video in this series, I take a ship or a ship variant and I break them down with you and I explain how the ship boasts and logistics. And as always, and with the current information released by the developers, I will give you an unbiased, in-depth description of the given ship. My objective overall is to give you a better understanding of the ship, regardless of if it fits your playstyle or not. Today we discuss the ARGO SRV. Last video we took a step back and looked at the bigger picture of logistics. Today we look at yet another ship that could be the beginning of your combat logistics role. If you didn't already know this, the ARGO SRV is a tugboat. By itself, it is designed to tow up to the size of a constellation. Also, with any vehicle or ship in the verse, you need to have the shields down in order for the ship to have consent to tow this said vehicle or ship. So first, let's take a look at, of course, combat logistics. I see this ship being used in combat operations to retrieve these disabled ships that are within a fleet. So in the future, you will not be able just to blow up a ship outright. You will be more of the lines able to disable it. So you take the SRV, you tow the ship off the battlefield or off grid, and you take it to something along the lines of a crucible. Why bring the crucible into battle when you can just have the SRV do the dirty work for it? The SRV can tow the vehicle or ship off grid, get it repaired, and then, if able, put it back into battle. The only downside, of course, is the fact that shields need to be down. So before you can tow these vehicles or ships, you must have the area secure in order to protect this already vulnerable ship. Let's talk about industry logistics. This ship is confirmed to be able to pick up cargo containers. Now, what I love to see in the future is it's able to support ships like the Hull series and the Orion. The way I see it supporting them is removing the large cargo containers that are attached to the ship itself. So this will really help with on and offloading operations for the Hull series, and for the Orion, I would love to see the ARGO SRV remove the cargo containers, place them on a ship like a C2. The C2 carries the ore in the cargo containers to a station or refining array, whatever, and the Orion stays on grid and continues to mine, and the tugboat is your link between the two. This allows maximum proficiency so you're able to get the most amount of money and resources as fast as possible. Another reason why I believe this ship will be important is because the fact that a real tugboat is designed to move larger ships in and out of congested areas. Later this year, or maybe even early next year, we're going to have the ability to dock. So what I'd like to see is the ARGO SRV in the future, of course, be able to move larger ships in and out of the congested areas and lining them up for docking operations. Pilots of capital class ships will have an easier time if they have a smaller ship like the SRV pushing and pulling it and lining it up for docking operations. This eases up the workload and it allows the bigger ship not to bump into tiny other ships or into company property. Again, no one likes to pay fines, so why not make everyone's life easier with the SRV? Also, another important thing is weight distribution. For example, the Bennu Merchantman, the glorious trade runner we all know and love. Suppose you fill it up with all its cargo and its fuel. You take off from a moon. Mind you, this moon has lighter gravity compared to ArcCorp. You land at ArcCorp, you do your trading, it's time to leave, you fill it up with fuel, pack some more cargo in it to go up into your next destination, but wait, you can't lift off because your thrust to weight ratio is off. You do not have the necessary thrust power to get off the planet. So what do? You call multiple SRVs to lift your ship into the atmosphere where it's thinner, and you're then able to get up out of the planet with ease. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned both ships and vehicles. So what I would love to see in the future is able to move the Tonk around with the SRV, unloading and unloading some of the ships like the C2 and the M2. Also, another important factor is the ARGO SRV seems small enough to land in the bigger size capital ships. So what I see this being used for when a capital ship is not in a combat role is, of course, is using it for combat logistics. Say another capital class ship needs a resupply. You pull up your capital vessel alongside and you use the SRV to tow your supplies to and fro. In real life, naval vessels resupplying is called underway replenishment, or UNREP. So even though it's 900 years in the future, I still feel like this will be necessary for org mates when they're prepping for a large battle or just transferring goods to and fro. And another important thing of towing is preserving fuel. For smaller ships, once fuel scoops get removed, I feel like the SRV will be a viable option for transporting smaller ships between capital class vessels as well. Instead of you tapping into the resources of the carrier, which has no problems refueling these smaller ships, use the SRV instead. Refuel one ship instead of refueling all these other ships that are being unloaded and offloaded on these vessels. And lastly, the SRV can definitely be used for SAR operations. SAR stands for Search and Rescue. The reason why I think this will be an invaluable asset that rolls in with the medical gameplay and Death of a Spaceman is because ships like the Freelancer and the Vanguard Warden have actual escape pods that surround the crew when they decide to eject. I see the SRV being able to retrieve these escape pods and recovering the crew and taking them to a safe location. Now, all this is great and all, but just remember, the SRV is a very niche-specific ship, meaning that it's meant to do one thing great, and of course that is pushing and pulling things with the use of its tractor beam. I don't see it coming out in the near future, nor do I see tractor beams coming out, but like most things in the verse, it is something I do look forward to using. After all, it is in my fleet. As always, I thank you for the love and support. If you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it, then I would ask you to consider liking it and sharing with anybody who would find this helpful or would find this enjoyable. Also, tell me your own thoughts on the ARGO SRV. Do you plan to buy one? Do you have one in your fleet? Will you get it during the anniversary sale that's not too far around the corner? Or it has nothing to do with your fleet whatsoever? Please let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely interested. And also, feel free to subscribe. Remember, citizens, your subscriptions help me reach out even further to the community so they also can benefit from my content. And if you would want to, feel free to further support me on Patreon. It's never necessary, but it's highly appreciated. But until next time, fellow citizens, I will see you on the flip side.